Got this piece of blackjack oak. It's a little lopsided, so in order to make it a little easier to deal with, it's a pretty big chunk of wood. I'm gonna cut this off and try to make it a little straighter on the bottom, because I'll be making a natural edge bowl out of this. It'll be relatively large. It's close. See, and I need to get rid of that too. It's almost through. Now it's somewhat parallel, and I think it'll make a nice natural edge bowl. Welcome back. You just saw me level out that piece of oak. Well, since then, I've taken it to the bandsaw and I've cut the corners off of it. And so now, let's take this piece of blackjack. It's nicely spalted. It measures roughly 12 inches. 12 inches wide and about 11 and a half inches long. 11 and 5/8. So we will we'll probably end up with about an 11-inch bowl, maybe 10 and a half when it's all said and done. If it holds together. This thing has been drying for quite some time. Like I said, it's spalted and there is some punky places in it. So let's get to the lathe and see what happens. But first, got another sticker. This one from my buddy Ken Moon at Moon Pie Creations. This is one of his fancy new holographic stickers. Pretty cool. And I think I'm gonna put you right here, but yeah, I'm gonna put you right here. So thanks for the sticker, Ken. As always, I'll put a link right up here. Thanks, buddy. Y'all go visit Ken, check him out. He's doing some pretty cool stuff. Pardon the voiceover here, but I'm still getting used to this new camera. And even though I set it to have the microphone, the external microphone enabled, if I don't check to make sure that it stays that way, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So in this segment, I'm truing up and shaping basically the outside of the bowl. I'm using my 5/8 inch bowl gouge. And it goes relatively quickly. I discovered that even though I knew this was spalted and I knew there was going to be a little bit of a punky area in it, it's punkier in places than I expected, and I'm getting quite a bit of tear out, quite a lot of tear out. And so here I'm using my 5/8 inch bowl gouge to do a little shear scraping to try to clean some of that up. A push cut just didn't help. It's just too punky in places. So here I switched to my big 1/4 inch thick scraper to try to smooth some of that out. It was a little bit successful in places and not in others. It was just so punky. Okay, mask and face shield on. Let's see if we can clean this up a little bit. Smooth it out. Okay, because this is so punky in places, I couldn't get the woodworm screw to hold. And I really, because I need the strength, I need a dovetail in here, and I can't cut one the way it is. But I can chuck this up enough to drill a good hole. but I need to stiffen this up. These stripped out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix up some epoxy, and I'm gonna hit this with some CA first, and then I'm gonna fill this with epoxy. And then I'll put it back on the lathe, drill a hole for the woodworm screw, then I can turn it around, cut me a really good mortise, because I do need to strengthen this because of what I'm planning on doing with it. Okay, face mask on. Face mask. I'm tubing. RZ mask, face shield. Let's go! I gotta true this up a little bit now that I've got it on the screw. It's still a little out of balance. Before I do anything else, next thing to do is turn this around and start on the inside. But before I do that, I'm gonna hit this with sanding sealer again, and I'll probably fill a few cracks. I think I'm gonna use black CA for stuff like this. All right, let's move this off. I'm not finishing the bottom yet because I'm going to have to turn it around and redo it anyway. I put me a center registration mark in there just in case. And when I'm ready to start on the inside, I'll come back. Got my dust mask on, got my face shield on. I'm going to start with a traditional grind bowl gouge. Right now I'm running about 7.5, 750 that is. I'll be able to crank the speed up once I get some of this hollowed out. The problem is this, it's in the way. You know, if I was just going to do a traditional live edge bowl out of this, it would be a lot easier because I could just go in and hog all this metal away and finish this up. And I'd have the clearance to do what I want to do. But that's not what I'm doing. I have something else in mind, and it might not work. Now ways of getting somewhere. Now I can go up to about 870s. Extra speed helps, it really does. I've got my hollowing rig set up. All right, let's go. One of the things I'm doing is cleaning up any residual bark, and I'm going in the direction of the grain. That took care of the bark. I know now why I've never seen anybody do one of these. Because I can't get the sander in there, and I've been hand sanding this now for about an hour and a half. I have sanded the inside a little bit. Again by hand. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hit it with some shellac, and after that dries, I may hit the inside with some Axe abrasive paste. I'm not sure yet. Again, all of that's gonna have to be applied by hand. And I'm gonna finish this with Howard bean wax because I don't want to gloss. I do have to turn a cap and a finial, so that's yet to come. All right, I'm gonna put a lip in here for the lid. Okay, now I'll get this sanded up. Okay, now I'll let this dry up a little bit and then hit it with some Howard feeding wax. But before I do that, I'm going to do something with this bark. It's not really bark, it's just the live edge, but there's inconsistencies in the color, so I'm going to do something to try to treat that a little bit. Okay, I'll let this sit here and soak in for 20 minutes. I'll come back, buff it out. We'll turn this around. I'll burn my logo in the bottom, finish the bottom, and then I'll do the lid and finial. Okay, let's buff this out. Okay, let's turn it around. That'll do. The messy studio doesn't show up as well as I'd like, but it'll do. One last little sandy sand. Now I'll hit this with a little axe. Don't forget, go to this address and enter the code Billy10 for your 10% discount on your Axe products. Same as the top. I love this stuff. A little goes a long way. It smells great. And if you don't want that high gloss plastic, I have no idea what language that was. Anyway, if you don't want the high gloss plasticky look of lacquer or a gloss polyurethane, you want a nice satin looking finish on your pieces, which is what I like on some pieces. Now sometimes a piece, like especially if it's a lot of resin, sometimes a piece demands a high gloss finish, but sometimes they don't. Like pieces like this, it's got a live edge, it's kind of rustic looking on its own, it's got bug holes in it, so it's spalted and there's some cracks. I filled most of them to the best of my ability. Some of them aren't quite so filled. So it's got that natural rustic look to it, and it just doesn't need a high gloss finish. So in those cases, Howard Feeding Waxes, it's just hard to beat. I'll let this sit a few minutes and I'll come back and I'll buff it off. Okay, buffed it up. This piece is done. Now it's time to take this off the lathe and see if I can make a lid, and I'll find something to make a finial out of. Now it's time to turn this finial before we go any further. See if this is straight grain enough to be able to stand all this. It might work. See, for those of you that think I'm that good with a skew, I have my little issues too. Alright, I'm going to sand that real quick before I get too curved. bird away. Loosen this and bring this out here. Okay, mucho bettero. A little bit of a round over right here. I'm sanding it and my hand hit that nub. Truth be told, it might have been a little bit long for this piece. This is too pretty a piece of Bradford pear to waste, so I'm not gonna. That will do. And yes, this is axe. That's pretty. All right. Why did this camera quit recording? I don't know when this quit recording or why, but I've sanded it. I've hit it with Axe abrasive paste, and I've just spread some Howard feeding wax on it. I'll let this sit. Man, that Bradford pear is pretty, isn't it? I wish I hadn't broke the end of that off. My own fault for not watching where my hand was. I'll let this sit for about 20 minutes, maybe a little less, and then I'll buff it off and come in and part this off, and then I will put the other piece back on and finish the lid. I like it, I like it, I like it. I bought this here tool for two reasons. One was in case I want to ever do some chip carving, and the other was to do this. Pretty. I didn't know Bradford pear would spalt like that. I love it. I'm gonna have to remove some of that flat, but I didn't know how much, so I do now. And I'll let the Howard's feeding wax sit on there a little bit, and then I'll buff it off, and then I will part that off. When I get this sanded, I'm going to glue the finial in, and then I'll come back and show you the finished piece. It was suggested in my last video that I make a shirt that says, well, that hit me right in the face shield. So here it is. So here it is. All done. Get up here a little closer so you can see the... I'm not real sure what kind of wood this is. It came from a futon that I took apart that my son gave me. I know it's a good hardwood. It's an Asian wood, I'm almost certain. It has the grain structure of sapele and mahogany and luan, but it doesn't have the color, so I'm not real sure. It's awfully blonde. I suppose it could be luan still. I don't really know. I know it's Asian, and to me this has kind of an Asian or Japanese flair to it, sort of. My cousin called it a cowboy hat. I think Steve Carval did as well. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, folks. I mean, I really, really do. If you have questions, send me an email. I'll be happy to answer them. If you'd like to support the Messy Studio in any way, you can click on my Amazon affiliate link down below, and anything you buy from there, I get a few pennies for. It doesn't cost you anymore. They just send me a little bit to help out. You can go to my website right here and order t-shirts, caps. My cap isn't in yet. I'll show you what that looks like when it gets here. I've added those to the site. We have t-shirts, caps, coffee mugs. The well, that hit me right in the face shield. T-shirts are up on my website as well. Some people mentioned that they wanted some, so they're there, as well as many of the things that I've turned. This piece that I just finished here, for example, it will be up there in a few days. and some pins that I haven't got on the website yet, but I got the pictures done, and I will, I promise. Sorry for the rambling. Again, thank you. I appreciate your support. I just really, really do. You never know what we're going to do or come up with here in the Messy Studio. If you'd like to try Axe, go to this website right here and enter Billy 10 for a 10% discount off your order. Up next in the Messy Studio is another resin hybrid of sorts. This was mesquite scraps that I put in some resin, and it's a new resin that I'm trying. So come back and see how this thing comes along. I initially was going to turn it into a vase, but I've decided I think I'm going to make a lidded box out of this. So again, thanks for watching. Enjoy life. Enjoy your family. You never know how long they're going to be around. Y'all come back.